Hello student, myself Rahul Kotkar. In this video, we are going to study the mechanical properties of fluid. It's our lecture number 12. So friends, here in the previous lectures, we studied about the different properties related to the fluids. Here we are going to study the property velocity gradient. In case of velocity gradient, first we start from definition. The rate of change of velocity, that is dv, with distance dx measured from a stationary layer is called velocity gradient, that is dv divided by dx. Okay, so what is this? For that we consider a liquid flow divided into a number of horizontal parallel layers. The bottom layer, which is at the rest, which is known as a reference layer or stationary layer. Okay, so as you observe the diagram, and from this diagram what we can say, we consider the flow of liquid. If suppose that we consider the flow of liquid in a river, okay, means water flowing in a river, in which we consider the number of layers, we distribute that particular liquid flow into a number of parallel layers. Okay, you can see the second diagram. In this diagram what we can say, there is a parallel layers are considered. Okay, the bottom layer is considered as a stationary layer, and as you move away from the bottom layer, the velocity of each layer is going to be increased. Okay, and so that will be shown here by using simple way. So we consider a layer which is at a distance x from layer with a distance with a velocity v. Okay, as you observe here, this is the your x distance, okay, from stationary layer. Okay, so we consider the layer which is at a distance x from the stationary layer and which is moving with velocity small v. Okay, so this is the first thing. Then again, next we consider that the adjacent layer below this at a distance x minus dx from stationary layer having velocity v minus dv. Okay, we'll talk about this one. Okay, so this layer should be present below the layer at a distance x, which is at a separated by a small dx. Okay, so whose velocity is v minus dv and whose distance is x minus dx. Okay, similarly we consider that the layer at a distance x plus dx moving with the velocity v plus dv, as again here this is your x plus dx. Okay, means in case of x it is at height xs dx above the layer x having velocity v plus dv. Okay, so in this case what is the change? Change in the velocity is dv due to the viscous drag between the two adjacent layer. Okay, so here there is the viscous drag. What is the viscous drag? In simple way we can say that it is the viscous force. Okay, means when the two layers are flowing, so at that time one layer can apply the viscous force on the other one, means it try to oppose the motion of the adjacent layer. It is what viscous drag. Okay, so because of that, means suppose this layer, okay, opposes the layer of motion of this layer, and that's why its velocity should be come to the lower. Again this layer will apply the viscous force or oppose to the motion of the bottom layer, and so what happens, its velocity reduces by again dv, and so in this manner there is a change in velocity dv due to the viscous drag. So in another way you can say the definition of velocity gradient, the ratio of change in velocity with respect to distance measured from stationary layer called as velocity gradient. Okay, means it is the ratio of, okay, as you observe here, ratio of change in velocity. Change in velocity means what? Final velocity minus initial velocity. Initial velocity, okay, with respect to distance from the stationary layer. So this is your change in velocity, okay, divided by distance measured from the fixed layer. Okay, that is also the change in distance you may call. Okay, so in this manner, change in velocity with distance, okay, means both definitions are analogous to each other, okay, but the way to represent them. Okay, so then what we can say here, so in liquids the viscous drag is due to short range molecular cohesive forces, and in gases viscous drag is due to collision between the fast moving molecules. Okay, remember these two things. In case of liquid, why the viscous drag? Okay, means why the opposition to the flow of liquid layers? Because of there is the short range cohesive force. Molecular cohesive force means force of attraction between two similar molecules of liquid, and that's why there is the viscous drag. Means the similar molecule of liquid, suppose this is the molecule of liquid and this is also the molecule of liquid, they apply the cohesive force between them, and that's why what happens, they will oppose the motion of the layer, motion of the adjacent layer. Okay, but in case of gases, the viscous drag is due to the collision between the two moving particles. As the gas molecule are moving here and there, so due to the collision their motion will be get opposed. Okay, and this is the important thing to remember. It may be asked for MCQ also. Okay, in both liquids and gases, as long as the relative velocity between the layers is small, the viscous drag is proportional to the relative velocity. Okay, means in case of both liquid as well as in case of gas also. Okay, what we observe, the relative velocity, okay, relative velocity between the layer is smaller, mean in between these two one, as you say here, final velocity minus initial velocity means this change in velocity should be the smaller till that one the viscous drag, okay, means this viscous force acting is proportional to this relative velocity. Okay, the viscous drag or viscous force is proportional to the relative velocity if the relative velocity becomes the smaller. Okay, next, however, in turbulent flow the viscous drag increases rapidly and it is not proportional to relative velocity but proportional to the higher powers of relative velocities. Okay, in case of turbulent flow, you know about the turbulent flow, okay, in which when the liquid flowing, okay, so all the molecules are moving with a different velocity, or in other way what we can say, the velocity of a molecule at a given point is not remains constant. Okay, that one is known as a turbulent flow. So in that case this viscous drag is not proportional to the relative velocity, but this viscous drag is proportional to the, okay, powers of higher powers, it may be the square, cube, fifth power, whatever it may be, higher powers of the relative velocity. Okay, so I hope you understood these things. It's a very simple, and all these three phenomena, three points are important as per aspect the MCQs also. Okay, otherwise you should remember only the definition from this topic. Then next is your coefficient of viscosity. So before going to understood this one, we have to consider the law. Okay, so what is that? According to Newton's law of viscosity, for streamline flow, viscous force F acting on any layer is directly proportional to the area A of the layer and velocity gradient dv by dx. Okay, so as you can represent it in terms of the symbolically, what is that? Okay, the viscous force. Okay, but in which case? For the streamline flow only, not in case of turbulent flow. Okay, for streamline flow, the viscous force is proportional to the, directly proportional to the area of the layer, and it is also directly proportional to the velocity gradient. So therefore, we can removing the proportionality sign and by putting the equality sign, so means equal sign. So what we have to consider the constant, say as to eta. Okay, this constant used here is called eta. Okay, this one is like this. Okay, not your small n, it is a somewhat like this. Okay, so it is known as a eta, which is a Greek letter, and it is a constant used here. This constant is called as coefficient of viscosity of the liquid, as here A be the area of cross section of the layer parallel to the direction of the flow. Okay, remember, area of cross section of the layer means, suppose if you consider this is the liquid flowing here, so we consider the area of the liquid layer flowing like this. Okay, it will be like this, that is the area of cross section parallel to the direction of flow. Okay, so therefore eta can be given by viscous force F divided by area multiplied by dV divided by dx. So the coefficient of viscosity can be defined as, okay, means using this formula we can define the coefficient viscosity, that is a viscous force per unit area per unit velocity gradient. Simple. Viscous force per unit area per unit velocity gradient. Okay, so in this manner you can define it. What is the SI unit of viscosity? So SI unit of viscosity is Newton second per meter square. Simple. Okay, force is measured in Newton, area is measured in meter square, dV divided by dx. Okay, what about the dV divided by dx? That is simple, meter per second. Okay, again divided by meter. So here meter get cancelled and second will move to the numerator again. And so what we have, Newton second per meter square. So its CGS unit is dyne per second per centimeter square. Okay, and its a common name is, or special name is poise. Okay, poise is the name of scientist, and in the memory of scientist it is given the CGS name. So what is the relation here? 1 Newton second per meter square equals to 10 poise. Okay, remember this is the conversion between SI unit to the CGS unit. 1 Newton second per meter square is equals to 10 poise. So what about the dimension? The dimension is given by, okay, L raised to minus 1, M raised to 1, T raised to minus 1. Again same thing, how it should become? By substituting the dimensions of force, that is M1 L1 T raised to minus 2, area L to the power 2, okay, velocity M1 L1 T raised to minus 1, and displacement, that is L raised to 1 So by substituting all these value we get this one. Okay, then next is your how the 1 Newton second per meter square equals to 10 poise. So for that we have to convert it. Okay, means we have to obtain the value of 1 Newton second meter square into a CGS system. So first thing, okay, we have a formula Newton. Okay, then Newton will be get converted into the dyne. Okay, what is the relation there? 1 Newton is equal to 10 to the power of 5 dyne. Okay, then again second should be remains as it is. So meter square get converted to the centimeter square. So 1 meter is equals to 100 or 10 to the power 2 centimeter. So square of this 1 meter square centimeter square, and it will also becomes the square. So it will becomes 10 to the power 4, and in this manner we'll have this one. Okay, then in the next step this 10 to the power 5 and 10 to the power 4. Okay, so 10 to the power 4 get cancelled, only 10 should be the remains outside. Then therefore what we can say, this dyne per second, dyne second per meter square centimeter square is the CGS unit called poise, and so 1 Newton second per meter square equals to 10 poise. Okay, so this is the conversion. Then Stokes law. Okay, next point that we have to study, Stokes law. What about the Stokes law? This law gives the viscous force acting on a spherical object falling through a viscous medium. Okay, means for what case or for which case this can be applicable? Under what condition it is applicable? Only for a spherical object which is falling through the liquid, falling through the viscous medium. Okay, means in short, it can be useful to determine the viscous force acting on a spherical body which falling through the viscous medium. Means in short, as I put the marble inside the liquid, say as to water. Okay, a beaker is filled with the liquid, say as to water, and in which I put the marble. So how much the force experienced by it, means how much the opposition to the motion of the marble by the liquid layers, okay, that can be given by this Stokes law. Okay, so this law states that the viscous force acting on a small sphere falling through a viscous medium is directly proportional to the radius of the sphere, its velocity through the fluid, and the coefficient of viscosity of the fluid. Okay, means it should be viscous force. Okay, according to this law or Stokes law, the viscous force is directly proportional to the coefficient of viscosity. It is directly proportional to the radius of the spherical body. It is directly proportional to the velocity of the spherical body inside the fluid. Okay, so it can be given by removing the proportionality sign, by putting equal sign, we have Fv is equal to, okay, Fv stands here viscous force, 6 pi eta Rv. This 6 pi is constant here, okay, which is used as a constant of proportionality. So this equation of viscous force is acting on a spherical object falling through a viscous medium. Okay, remember this is always applicable in case of only the spherical object. When Stokes law is applicable only case for spherical objects. Okay, so proof of this Stokes law using dimensional analysis. So you know the dimensions in the 11th standard where you studied the dimensional analysis. Okay, the one application is there by which we can prove this Stokes law. So for that what we are doing, we are putting here F is equal to K into eta raised to A R raised to B V raised to C. It's your equation number 1. Okay, so what is that? Where this K is the numerical constant whose value can be determined by using experiment. Okay, and which comes to the 6 pi. Then A, B and C are the powers of eta, R and V respectively, which is to be determined. So by putting the dimensions of force, okay, dimensions of eta, radius R and velocity V, okay, all have knowledge about these dimensions, so no need to explain again. Okay, first bracket shows the dimension of force, second bracket shows the dimensions of eta raised to A, okay, then dimensions of R raised to B and dimensions of V raised to C. So in the next case, what we are doing here, we are making the multiplications of powers. Means what? Here minus 1 multiplied by A becomes again minus A. Okay, so in case of this, for each term which is a L, suppose in case of L, what we have? Minus A in the first bracket. In second bracket, for L, as 1 multiplied by B, okay, it should be B again. Okay, here 1 and here power is C, so again C. Okay, so powers get added and we will write like this. So we'll do this process for all the brackets, all the terms L, M as well as T. As K is constant, so no need to do with it. Okay, so next is comparing the powers of M, L and T we get. Okay, we have to just compare the powers of M, L and T along the left side and right side. So by comparing them, we have in the first case, as you observe here, the power of M and here power of M as a 1. Okay, so therefore A equals to 1. Means we simply doing what? We comparing the power, as the base is same here. So what is that? X is equal to Y. And in this manner, we have A equals to 1. Similarly, for the power of L, okay, so minus A plus B plus C equals to 1. And for a power of T, minus A minus C equals to minus 2. In the next step, by solving it, substitute the value of A, okay, in this term, okay, we will get the answer. And in here also, by substituting the value of A, we'll get the answer, which is simply as B equals to 1 and C equals to 1 also. And therefore, we have an equation 1 which becomes like F is equals to K into eta R into V, and that is what the proof of Stokes law using the dimensional analysis. Okay, so in this manner, this is about your Stokes law. Remember, this Stokes law can be applicable only case of the spherical object, and which is determines the viscous force acting on a spherical object when it fall inside the viscous fluid. Okay, so next point, terminal velocity. Okay, terminal velocity. In case of terminal velocity, let here we consider when a spherical body falls through a viscous fluid, it experiences a viscous force and motion of the body is initially accelerated. The spherical body attains constant velocity called terminal velocity. So friends, listen here. In case here we consider suppose spherical body which falls inside the viscous fluid. Okay, so when it falls inside the viscous fluid, initially, okay, when it enters in the liquid, Okay, remember when it enters in the liquid, initially its motion is get accelerated, means there is the acceleration produced. Okay, means its velocity increases initially, and after some time it attains the constant velocity. Okay, it attains constant velocity, and that constant velocity attained by the spherical body is called terminal velocity. Understood? Simple. Initially body shows the acceleration, and after that it shows the constant velocity, and that constant velocity is called terminal velocity. Okay, why this terminal velocity is produced, that we have to study in the next steps. Then we consider a spherical object falling through a viscous fluid. Forces experienced by it during its downward motions are. Okay, as you observe the diagram in which you can see here, the spherical body is falling inside the liquid. Okay, so which forces are acting on this spherical body? Now, first one, that is a viscous force Fv. Okay, viscous force Fv, which is directed upward. As you observe the diagram, okay, here this viscous force is acting in the upward direction on this body. Okay, gravitational force or its weight Fg directed downwards. Means here the gravitational force which is always acting in a downward direction. Okay, that is your Fg, or you may call m into g. Okay, then next is your buoyant force or upthrust force, which is directed upward. Okay, so you can observe this buoyant force or upthrust force, means the force which is acting on a body, okay, due to the liquid surface, that is your buoyant force, and this one is acting in the upward direction. So it is upthrust force, and so it is shown by Fu. Means the two forces are acting in the upward direction and one force is acting in a downward direction. And so we just talk about that, the why it attains the constant velocity. So the reason is there. In case of this, the net downward force given by the body, that is your F, okay, and this F can be given by, suppose Fg be the downward force and Fv plus Fu. Okay, means what, this is your downward force and this is your upward force. So the difference between both, okay, difference between both is what, net force or net downward force. So initially, as Fg is greater and this force, upward force, is smaller, and so what happens, which will responsible, sorry, because of that the body will be get moves in the downward direction with the acceleration, or you may call body get accelerated in a downward direction. But as this Fg, Fv, Fg and Fu, okay, means upthrust force and gravitational force, okay, both are the constant. But as Fv increases, okay, Fv increases, there should be the, means this force increases, the velocity also increases. Okay, remember when the velocity increases, the opposite to the motion is increases. Okay, that is a viscous force increases. And thus what happens, as Fv increases here, okay, so what happens, both becomes equal, means the difference between both becomes equals to 0. Okay, or in short you may call this Fg is equals to Fv plus Fu, and then the body will attain the constant force or constant velocity. Means there should be the equilibrium between the upward force and downward force, and that's why the body attains the constant velocity. Okay, then Let here we consider that r be the radius of spherical body, m be the mass of the spherical body, rho be the density of spherical body, and sigma be the density of viscous medium, means where the body is fallen. It may be the air as a fluid, it may be the liquid as a fluid. So it is a density of medium. Remember, sigma be the density of medium. Eta be the coefficient of viscosity. So as sphere attains the terminal velocity, so this total downward force and total upward force are get balanced. As we studied there, what happens? Because of the both forces get balance each other, means at equilibrium you found there upward and downward forces are equal. So weight mg of the sphere, total downward force is what? Your weight mg. And what is the upward force? That is viscous force plus upthrust force. So by substituting the value, okay, I will explain you. This is m multiplied by g. So what is the mass? Mass is nothing but your volume multiplied by density. Okay, so I multiplied by g as it is. So these two terms are there. What is the volume? 4 by 3 pi r cube. Okay, and in this manner we'll have this term 4 by 3 pi r cube rho into g. Then next is your viscous force. As from the previous, we know that this viscous force, that is the Stokes law, 6 pi eta rv, and for the upthrust force it should be the 4 by 3 pi r cube rho into sigma into g. So by rearranging the equation, okay, you just take this 6 pi eta rv along the LHS side and keep all these things on the RHS. You will get this one. Means you have to just rearrange this equation. So you get the relation V is equals to 4 by 3 pi r cube. Okay, as you solve it, we have 4V equals to 4 by 3 pi r cube rho minus sigma into 1 divided by 6 pi eta r. Okay, actually this steps is the correct, this one is the wrong. Okay, so remember it. Then therefore finally velocity is given by, okay, that is this equation is nothing but of equation of terminal velocity, and this will gives you the equation of coefficient of viscosity by just rearranging the coefficients. Okay, means physical quantities say as to V as well as eta. So friends, in this manner this is about your terminal velocity. Hope so you understood. Thanks for watching. If you have any doubt, okay, can be asked into the comment section. Thank you for watching this video.